evening going. Big stimulus checks are available to millions of Americans across the country right now. And this is LALATE Live Rewind, in which I answer your questions on air. This is our Q&A show, different from the live show on the channel airing right now on LA1. And of course, LA2 is live as well. On this show, which is our late night program, we go over your questions that you have that you wish to have answered. And we're going to go all over those questions tonight. Whatever you have a question about the economy, stimulus, the Federal Reserve, jump in the live chat and I'll answer your questions across the board. As soon as you're in the live chat, say hello. Live chat is open to everyone. Tell me where you're from, or what's your name, how the weather is for you tonight, and I will answer your questions on air. Hope everyone's having a beautiful night across the board. On this show, we answer your questions about everything you have, and I get guidance from you about what really is pressing for you across the board. The show is a question and answer, the only show that you get all your questions really answered with me directly on air. So whatever you have a question about, jump in the live chat tonight. I'll start it off by going into the incredible stimulus at issue. Stimulus checks of massive sums of money are available right now across the entire United States. Billions of checks are being sent out, but you got to do something to get the checks. These incredible checks were passed by Congress, passed by the President of the United States, and they're huge amounts of checks. Viewers are walking away with tens of thousands of dollars this week alone, and these big, massive checks are available for you. What's important when getting stimulus is to understand that this is stimulus 2023. It is not stimulus 2021. It is not stimulus 2020. It is stimulus 2022 into 2023, and there's a certain way you got to do it. And if you want to play the game, you got to do what the game requires. If you don't want to do it, then you don't get anything. And it's as simple as that. And I know that may not be what some people were endeavoring to see, but that is the situation. And the takeaway is that it helps you a lot. And I'll tell you why it helps you a lot, because people who want to make the effort to get big sums of money are getting more money than we ever thought. Viewers are walking away with 18 months of checks right now. 18 months of checks, and those 18 months of checks, monthly stimulus checks for 18 months, are more than Bernie and Congress and the White House and Democrats ever promised you. These are monstrous sums of money, 18 months of checks, and they're getting them. They're getting them because they became law, and they're really focusing on learning how to get these incredible checks. These 18 months of checks, how many checks a month? They're getting 5 checks a month. That's happening routinely on this channel. And it's important to understand that this is the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation has brought wonders and changed people's lives on this channel. It's just been absolutely heartwarming to see how many people have had their lives changed because now they're sitting on 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 150,000, $200,000 because they watched LA Light and they learn about these checks. I put an enormous amount of effort in researching all this, and that's effort. My effort of research is turning the difference for you. When you are ready to pounce and get the checks, you get them in a way that really is not complicated, not difficult, and really changes people's lives. Now, on the other hand, there are some people that just expect handouts, and the universe of handouts is long gone. And in a way, that's sort of good for you. Why? Because handouts of measly amounts of money are long gone, and what's been replaced with that is monstrous amounts of money for people who don't look for handouts, for people who really put the effort in to get these big sums of money. So if you're in the live chat right now, tell me where you're from, say hello, tell me where you're watching from, and I'm here to answer your questions across the board. What we're looking for in this economy tomorrow is the corporate earnings coming in from the major retailers in the apparel industry, and some electronics as well. We have Best Buy reporting tomorrow. We have Dick's Sporting Goods, which is a sporting good company, reporting tomorrow. We also are really getting geared up to see some of those retail store customer activity numbers coming in this week. Our stores empty, our stores busy, And it's so important to be laser focused on this. I know this is Thanksgiving week. I know a lot of you may start traveling, but please don't put aside the effort to get stimulus. Don't put aside being informed of this economy. We all know that the next 90 days is going to be the real trigger point. It's going to be the real trigger point in which uh, major changes in this economy are going to happen, and what's here is now, and things are going to change in a different direction. You don't want to be left behind on the ball game. Let me go over to some things that are important to understand when looking at this economy, when looking at things going forward. Number one, it's so important to learn the current situation. The number one error I see with viewers is they're looking backward. They're not looking current or forward. So a lot of viewers, not a lot of viewers, some viewers try to repeat something they heard 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago. Folks, you can't do that. You can't do that for anything. You can't do that for stocks or bonds or crypto. You certainly can't do it for stimulus. You got to be laser focused on what is contemporary right now. And I got to tell you, that type of talk is going to leave a lot of people in trouble. I mean, for example, people told you that Dogecoin was going to go to $1. You want to go look it up? I mean, it did not go to $1, so it didn't do that. And then what about people who told you that certain mem stocks were gonna, AMC and certain mem stocks were gonna make you millionaires? Didn't happen. What about the people who told you buy all that real estate or buy all those cars? Yeah, and so you got to deal with the contemporary moment of situation. And one of the things that we see with the current generation is that they hear something and then they sort of move on to something else and they don't check back on it. It's one of the things I talked about early in this channel was when we are talking about trading. If you want to you want to do something and sort of sit on it, it better be something that is very stable. Because if you sit and just, hey Dragon, how are you? Thank you for joining tonight's live chat. If you grab something and you sit on it, it's very dangerous because ultimately, if you're sitting on something that is relatively volatile, then you're not going to be a good circumstance. And that comes for so many different things in society. It comes for stocks, it comes from bonds, it comes from real estate, it comes from crypto, it comes from stimulus. And people just sort of sit on things and don't pivot based upon what's going on. Very, very dangerous. It's really dangerous. And I got to tell you, um, there is always someone that sort of shows up in a live chat and tells you something they knew about 6 months ago. I want to say to them, where have you been for 6 months? Because why are you telling me something you learned 6 months ago? Wall Street analysts can't even tell you what's happening 6 months from now. Wall Street analysts can't even tell you what's happening 6 weeks from now, nor can the Federal Reserve, nor can I sometimes. And so you really can't use something you learned 6 months ago as the basis of tomorrow or the basis of today. You really have to update your information all the time. So my messaging for stimulus, you have to update your understanding of stimulus daily. Daily. You have to update your understanding of stimulus daily for stocks, daily, bonds, daily, crypto, daily. I mean, here's some examples. Number one, let's assume you were not watching the news for a week. For 1 week, and you jumped in the live chat today and you said, I think that Disney is really going to end a year really in bad trouble. The stock is down 40%. They're really a mess. And you just sort of go on with this way of talking. And I want to interrupt you and say, well, did you know that Disney's CEO was fired today? And no, I didn't know that. What about when you're talking about crypto? Well, my friend told me a few months ago that Shiba Inu is a really good crypto coin. Really? When was the last time you looked at Shiba Inu? As Dragon just said in the live chat, you have to really be on top of this economy. You really do. Now, how about if you're not buying things, but you're just trying to, get through life and you have a job? Well, I got a job at Target. Target's never going to go under, right? And you asked me that question. My answer is, well, Target could close your store. Target could certainly close your store and you may not have that job. You could get laid off. What do you mean, Target? Why would Target lay me off? And that is a question you may ask if you didn't watch any news on LA for over a week. It's an economy that's very much volatile right now, very, very volatile, that people are really going to be in trouble. There are no guaranteed jobs right now, says Dragon. Absolutely. The way the economy is going, you have to be continually on top of it, says Dragon. Absolutely. I got to tell you, I think that people are still acclimated to the notion that everything is the status quo. Status quo doesn't change and everything improves. And you know who those people are. Those are the people who jump in the live chat. Says, whatever happened to Bernie? Whatever happened to the recon? Whatever happened to CR for stimulus? Whatever happened? And I say to myself, why are you repeating something from a year ago or 2 years ago? Do you even know what happened today or yesterday? Ionis has difficult times. Ionis, absolutely. It's important that when you're in a volatile, and what does the word volatile means? It means it's changing very, very abruptly all the time. When you're in a volatile economy, you're going to get left behind if you're not knowing the news. Now, let's go to the news. The type of news that I deliver is based upon your thirst for information. And I know that people may have wondered over a year and a half ago whether I would talk about the yield curve inversion, I would talk about interest rates, or I'd talk about the Federal Reserve and 50 basis point. But I saw your thirst for information, and you clearly wanted to learn this stuff, and you clearly knew that this information was going to improve you in understanding your financial position in this world, helping you understand how you can improve yourself. And that's why I stayed with the messaging. Now, here's a question for you. You're in the live chat right now. A couple of you are in the live chat right now. What would you say if I dropped stimulus coverage altogether? What if I just dropped stimulus coverage altogether? Then what? Would that be a good or would that be bad? Jump in the live chat and give me your thoughts about the matter right now. My stimulus coverage is always different than other people's because Dragon says no. My stimulus coverage is different than other people's because I'm not just reporting the news of it. I'm teaching people how to do this. Bad, 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 says Dragon. And ultimately, it's an educational channel in which I'm showing people how to do things. Not a good idea, says Ionis. So that's why I stay with stimulus because if there is one person who wants to learn how to get the stimulus, then I'm going to record it. And if there's 30 people who don't want to learn how to get the stimulus, then then don't watch the channel. Like you teach us how to get the stimulus, not just that it's there, says Dragon. I appreciate that. So Dragon understands the difference, and Ionis does as well. That I'm not just saying, hi, a check has gone out, news at 11. I'm not doing that. I'm actually hunting down the checks, teaching you about the checks, and showing you about the checks. And again, this goes back to learning. I remember seeing, and if you missed the start of this video, I was talking about the back end. I always like to look at the back end comments that are held to see what I'm seeing and that something is held that should not post and was a chat violation or whatever. And one of the comments was, where do you get this from? I don't see this on the local news. Okay. So your benchmark for learning information is that it's on the local news. Folks, I don't know when was the last time I learned anything from the local news, at least in Los Angeles. Maybe you got great local news where you are. Absolutely, we need the education of, Ionis just wrote, um, Absolutely. We need the education of it and how to get it. I'm totally in favor of that. It's and things require a level of understanding. Now, I mean, this is how this channel launched. I was teaching people EIDL and how to do the EIDL application and how to fill it out and the unemployment and how to do it and how to do this and how to that. It was always a how to. This is a how to channel. This is not a the sky is blue today and here's the list of concerts in your neighborhood. That was not what I do on this channel. It's not what I do on this channel. And needless to say, there's growing spurts, and I do think that some people really do believe that they are just sort of entitled to be that they are an American and that as an American they should be just sent wads of dollar bills in big sacks of bags in the mail, every 20 days. I just sort of think there's some people that think that way and let them think that way, and let them continue to think that way until once their back is against the wall. There was one person who jumped on the live chat today, and Dragon knows who was, and the person clearly had not been on the channel for over a year, and then had a comment that was basically along the lines that showed the person had not been on the channel for over a year, and was just showing up to see if there's a wad of cash landing in his bank account. Great. So, not part of the Purple Cow community, just sort of showing up to, someone died in the family. I'm showing up for the will reading. My great uncle just died, and I didn't really care to ever check on him. But boy, he just died, and maybe I'm in the will. That's what it sort of feels like. Does that feel like that to you? Does it feel like those people sort of act like that? I never checked on my uncle. I don't even know if he had any children. But I'm just showing up to get some money because he's dead. That's what it sort of feels like with some people. Now, going back to the news, I love that you have done so well with the news over the last 6 months. I love that you've done so well because this is the news I always wanted to do. This was the news I always wanted to cover. I always wanted to cover financial news. I didn't want to do stock picking particularly, which I find sort of tiring because all the stock picking broadcasters, not YouTubers, but broadcasters, they always get it wrong. There's a very high likelihood of things going wrong when you're predicting stocks. But I always wanted to cover financial news so you know the economy, you know the general dynamics of the market. So if you want to go buy stocks based upon your understanding of the economy, you can go do it. And that's why this channel has worked. Now, I feel that I've been true to myself every step of the way and have not really pivoted at all. A lot of people have pivoted. If you have any questions, again, if what you're watching is LA Late Night's show in I know that I should probably change the title of the graphic over the girl because it could make confusing with the live show on LA1. But this is the question and answer show. So any questions you have about the economy, jump in the live chat. Anything, questions about stimulus or housing or anything else, jump in the live chat and I'll answer your questions across the board. It's so critical. I always love when her chin moves. It's just for an inch because she's alive. You just notice that her chin just moved. It's okay, she's alive. Uh, the it's going to be a very confusing few months with this economy. And I really do think, and I know you've said it as well as viewers, that February is going to be the big, oh my goodness, month. It's going to be the month in which people just really woke up and realized they did something wrong. Ionis has talked about it. Dragon has talked about it. A lot of people in the live chat have talked about it. It's those people, not us, those other people that have run up credit card debt, bought stuff, presuming they still have the job and will always have the job, bought stuff not understanding whether they're going to ever have the cash to pay off the credit card, and really not budgeting. And you and I don't have to guess about this. It's in all the reports. 60% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, up from the prior month and up from the prior year. People carrying long-term debt on those credit cards like never before. people not budgeting themselves or keeping understanding of their household budget like ever before. And the reason for it, I think, is an entire generation that has grown up with never seen things bad. They've only seen things good. They've only seen the things go up, stocks up, real estate up. They've only understood things to always go up. And when they see things go down, it's just going to be a really hard awakening for them. Let me explain, if you are young and you're watching this video, what a down market does for you. If you're older and you really haven't experienced it, let me explain what happens in a down market. In a down market where things get bad, suddenly you're not bringing in the cash you normally bring in, and yet your debts are still the same. So suddenly you have the same debts but less cash. Okay. So then you need to figure out how you're going to pay the debts. So then you start thinking about selling some of your possessions. Maybe you sell some household items. Maybe you sell the car. Maybe you say, we don't need this big house. Let's move to a smaller house. And you start to think about selling possessions. Well, the problem is then you start looking at the possessions, and the possessions have less value. It's a horrible feeling that suddenly you can't make the bills and that the possessions you have are less valuable because they become devalued in the market. It's like buying a stock and the stock has gone down in value. I mean, if you've ever owned a stock and you thought, wow, why did I buy that dog? And now I don't, and now I have all that cash in that dog or stock and I don't want to get out of it, but I need cash to pay for something else. Imagine if you own Coinbase, which was a $300 stock just few weeks ago. It's a $40 stock right now. It's a platform to buy and sell crypto, but it's a stock. It's a company on the U.S. stock exchanges. And imagine you say, I need cash cleared up, and you're thinking of selling Coinbase, but you don't want to sell it because you take a big loss, but yet you need cash. This is how reality checks hit really badly when people have not considered negative environments. And it's really, really easy to make a video when everything is up. When everything is up and you're making a video saying, hey, go buy Doge and you'll be a millionaire. Making a video and saying, hey, I bought 30 pieces of real estate in California, you can too. Making a video saying, hey, let's buy 20 stocks together, and I'm going to show you in a Discord on my live chat. Let's go buy some 20 stocks together and I'll show you my portfolio. It's really easy to make those videos when everything is up. It's really hard to make those videos when everything is down. And that ultimately, my concern is that people don't pivot quickly enough when they realize something doesn't smell right. And so ultimately, the reason why I'm here is to help people. The reason why this community works is that we put data first. You and I put data first. We put data about inflation, data about the stock market, data about bonds, data about housing, data about labor. We put data first. We have no room to sort of, yeah, I almost cursed, to fabricate the story. We don't have room to fabricate the story because we're putting the data first. So we're just repeating the data. And if the data says something, that's what it says. So when Target says we're cutting $3 billion of costs over 3 years, that's data. Analysis is, is speculating what the cost cutting will be. We don't know because they haven't told us. Data is the Federal Reserve saying that they're going to keep on spiking those interest rates. And data is that there's going to be higher interest rates all this year, each month, because, we got, well, one more month, I should say, one more month for the year. And then we can do those interest rates next year. That data means that interest rates will be more higher next year. That's data. And we don't lead with analysis when the data is indisputable. And that's how ultimately you and I win. You and I win. And so let's put that to stimulus. From when we're talking about stimulus checks, the massive federal stimulus checks are from the federal government. That's data. That's data. Stimulus checks became law in March, and from the federal government, Congress and the President of the United States. That's data. What they're called, that's data. The amount of it, that's data. The application for it, that's data. There's no dispute about it. If you don't know about it, well, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If you don't know where it is yet and you just found this channel, that's not data, that's analysis. Means that you need to learn about where it is and figure out how it works and watch the channel, become a member and join the channel. That's analysis. That's not data. And so people confuse off this channel data with analysis. I don't hear on the local news, hence it doesn't exist. That's analysis. That's not data. The data is that it does exist. The data is that there's a website for it. The data is that you click the website and you go apply. The data is that you type your name in and you fill out the application. That's data. The fact that you haven't heard on local news, that's analysis. That's analysis, and in fact, it's wrong analysis because who cares? Who cares you haven't heard on the local news? When we go to stocks, when we go to crypto, um, when we go to bonds, we're talking about projections. That's all analysis. But when we have corporations giving us third quarter corporate earnings all this week, and tomorrow is on this channel, I'll have a live on air the results for Best Buy and also have the results for um, Dick's Sporting Goods. That's data, and that's really, really critical data. The reaction to the news, that's analysis. And that's how you and I really win. Um, by the end of the day, if when we have the data in front of us, I read the data, you read the data. The next person reads the data. Honest in the live chat reads the data. Dragon reads the dragon data. I read the data. The data says the same thing to everyone else. Everyone who reads the data says the same thing. The consumer price index for inflation, that's data. The housing market, a number of home sales per month decline, that's data. The salaries, real salaries increasing or decreasing, rent decreasing or increasing based upon inflation, that's all data. So you can't play around with data. I mean, and that is why um, it all works when you start with the same basic approach, putting all the numbers in front of us and looking at them. And from there, sometimes we don't need a lot of analysis because the the data speaks for itself. If when we look at the consumer price index and it shows that utilities went up 10%, excuse me, 20% in 1 month this last month and 61% year to date, our mouths drop. That's data. And but yet the data says, wow, that's scary. That's a scary run up of inflation. So I don't need someone, 20 years old or 100 years old telling me, well, that number doesn't really mean. No, I don't need that person telling me that because I'm looking at the data and the data says, hey, it went up a lot. Same thing for stimulus. If the stimulus is there and there's an application and there's a website and you apply and you go get it, that's data. I don't need someone to give me analysis of saying, well, what about no? It's a website, it's a federal website, it's just that darn simple. It's that simple across the board. And so ultimately I think that's why why you and I win, because we don't get confused with puffery. We don't get confused with extraneous chatter. We just go right to the numbers, and the numbers speak for themselves. And I will be speaking with you tomorrow morning. See you back on air tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for the return of channel number three's Wall Street Live at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on the East Coast, that's 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Have a beautiful evening and stay informed, stay focused. Stay up LA for more.